Welcome back to Beauty Marks Podcast. My name is Elizabeth Savillon, and welcome to another episode of this podcast. Here we talk about all things cultivating community, healing, and embracing our story. And I hope that you enjoy every single week as we bring educational and real life kind of content. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to this podcast and leave a review. All of that helps us to grow. And honestly, for this month, we are turning 4 years, and I would love to hear from you. So if you haven't, make sure to leave a review. You can go down to Beauty Marks Podcast, scroll down, leave 5 stars, and let me know what you are loving. I love to hear back from you guys of what you guys are enjoying or what you would love to hear more about. Also, I am here at Hi Hello Labs in downtown Orlando and in this beautiful studio space in Orlando where they host events as well as they help content creators and podcasters also create content. So if you are someone that is interested in that, make sure to check them out. This week is event week, and I'm so excited. We are celebrating our 4 years of podcasting, as well as we are doing a collaboration between She Cultivates and Beauty Marks Podcast. And so we are bringing in 50 plus women into the studio here, and we're doing a podcast live. And if I am honest, I have been so nervous. I'm like, okay, having people in person and doing like a whole production show, even though I love it and I love interacting with people. But I feel like I start getting in my head, like, okay, like what other things should I do in like the event logistics? And so I am trying to prep for that and just hoping that everything goes smoothly and that it doesn't rain because here in Florida, it's been raining. And so that I feel like are like my two little things that if it happens, we'll figure it out. But I'm excited to have the conversation with Danielle as well as having the team here. My family's coming, and I'll be doing a recap of that the week of our 4-year anniversary. So, in this week's episode, I wanted to talk about something that is very trendy on social media and I see a lot, but I feel like I want to talk about it from a different angle. So, it's talking about decentering men. And so, when I see those posts on social media, it is definitely very attacking of the men and it's very on trend of like, like we don't have to listen to what guys say and like, kind of like unfocus of guys' attention and things like that. And you guys know that I think that when it comes to that extreme, that is not where I align with. But I want to talk about decentering men when it comes to when you get out of a relationship and when you're actually going through your healing journey, which I think I have not talked about on this podcast yet. And so when you're getting out of a relationship, and I feel like a lot of you guys that are listening right now and maybe can resonate with this, it's like you are in a very vulnerable space. You're feeling maybe like insecure, you're not feeling yourself, you feel like you lost your identity. Maybe you're heartbroken, anxious, depressed from leaving this relationship, or maybe they broke up with you. And so you're feeling through those emotions. And I feel like the normal process of that and the advice that you get, it's like go out there, have fun, live your life, you're young, get with someone else. And here I always talk about that is not the way, in my opinion, that helps you to heal, that actually prolongs your healing and makes it a little harder sometimes. And so I wanted to share a little bit about my own journey when it came to that, because I feel like I was someone that was always constantly in relationships. And my first relationship was actually in middle school. So I started very young and I would date and then start another relationship and then I would like date and then another relationship. And so I pretty much dated for like 10 years, like just in cycles of like maybe like 2 months or so, which I know that is not the best thing ever to do. And it was very unhealthy because you're just kind of using, like, you're never really processing what you just went through and you're just jumping into the next one and the next one. And so it's always like, I would say fun, right? Or like exciting because you're always with someone and you're like, you have that company and all of that. But you start dragging and continuing the cycles in every single relationship. Then when you look back, you're like, wow, like I have a train of like different relationships that maybe they were toxic or unhealthy, or you saw parts of yourself that you're like, wow, I like did that here and actually, ouch, that hurt me, but I never processed that. And like, you just kind of had to unravel that. So, um, I know this is coming from like a heart to heart of me not doing it right. And so that's why I'm sharing this. So this is not to shame anybody. If you find yourself as like, well, I want to be in a relationship and it is what it is. And I've been back to back relationships. I was there. And I feel like when I got out of my last relationship that was on and off for 8 years, I feel like that's where I made that decision of like, no, I don't want to continue the cycle again. I don't want to just try to do it how I've clearly what I am doing is not working. And so what can I do differently now? And so I feel like in that time, I took about 2 years or like a year and a half or so to not date at all. Like not interact with guys in a flirty way or to have situationships. And it was like a conscious choice that I had to make to be like, I just don't want that. I feel like I need to deep dive into like myself and like kind of like I was isolating intentionally um to not continue to hurt or bleed out into different relationships. And so, how I did that was really not that I didn't have any interaction with guys. It was just that I started looking inward and starting to do the things and figure out what I liked. Therapy, having building my community. Like I spent all that energy instead of being out there looking for guys and looking for dates and like how to get a guy and like how to, be there for, how to find a guy. Like it's like I feel like my energy started going towards like, I want to feel okay and I want to be healthy and I want to be good. And so that was like through different things that I did and hobbies and going to the gym and finding out like with my hormones what was going on and just different things that I did during that period that were essential and allowed me also to grieve with what I was going through and not using someone else to help me in that way. Because I feel like, if I'm honest, when I started dating last year, so after I took that well needed break, I feel like I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be bold and I'm going to get out there and I'm going to start dating. And so I did. And so I got on the dating apps and I had a relatively like good experiences. I learned a lot about myself, about the different kind of types of guys, the things that I liked, the things that I didn't like. But I also realized that I was much more farther along in my healing than I thought I was. I would start seeing the signs different and I would start seeing the red flags early on and I would feel uncomfortable about certain interactions and I would say no when I felt uncomfortable and I would be able to have those hard conversations. And then I also realized my fears of getting hurt again, my fears of losing myself, the fears of, can I trust myself again? And that was all essential because of the time that I took for that, like 1 year and a half to 2 years. And even though I feel like compared to the relationship I was in, technically it's not a long time being single, but I was very intentional with that time. And I feel like in a society that's always just scared to be alone, which I get it, being alone is scary. Being alone feels like I want company and I want to have someone to talk to and have someone to hang out with. And that is a normal, valid feeling. And I want to validate that I still desire to be married one day. I still desire to have a relationship. And I was actually just talking to my therapist about this week that she's like, I think that you're scared. Like you're scared of getting hurt. And that's why you like have a defense up of dating. And I'm like, absolutely, I do. Yes, ma'am. Yes, yes, that is it. Like I know that that's what it is because I feel like this feels safe for me right now. And she's like, "Well, we don't want to be too safe because then you're going to be like 45." And I'm like, "I know. We're going to work on that." So, I feel like because I was on one extreme of like consistently dating and always being in a relationship and always being that girl in a relationship. And then I ended up having this break that was so well needed for me to find myself, to heal, to like work through my own traumas and things like that, that now has allowed me to now decide of actually if I want to be single or if I don't. Because I would say that a huge part of constantly being in certain relationships and kind of centering your life around like the next relationship is that you kind of settle for anyone that gives you attention. If you just got out of a crappy relationship, right? And then there's this one guy that comes in and he's like, you're so great. Wow. Like, I just feel so connected to you. And like, I feel like I love hanging out with you. That feels good. And that is something that, because you're feeling so low and you're feeling so sad, and maybe you haven't heard those words in such a long time, you are going to fall for it and you're going to be like, well, perfect, this is the one. When maybe if you were feeling good about yourself and confident and you're like, oh, thank you for telling me that, but it doesn't affirm who you are. It doesn't make you or break you. And so I feel like I see that consistently with different people, that I saw that in myself, of not having validation or security of ourselves that we look for in other people to give it to us, even though we're the only ones that really can give ourselves that. Of course, is it great hearing it from other people when it comes to like people recognizing things? Of course, but not that someone's words have the power to make or break you. Not someone's words that's going to be like, all right, this is the truth. And even though I don't know you, I'm going to trust everything. And all of a sudden, I'm in a relationship with you. Or something that I see a lot is that people say, okay, I'm going to be 6 months single or a year. But then within like 2 weeks, someone comes in the picture. And all of a sudden, your single girl era, your healing journey goes out the window because you're like, this one person came into my life and I just changed it. And usually those people are not the best people. Usually those people are not the person that maybe you would have chosen to be with, or would have really if you would have given yourself the time. Like, if you decided to be single for 6 months or a year, give yourself that. Like, stick to that and actually be like, you know what? I'm going to work on myself, or take some time off to really like heal through some things. And no matter who comes, I'm going to stick it out. And I promise you that if that is the person for you, if that is the man or the woman for you, they will respect that. And sometimes it's not even communicating that. It's just saying that, like, we are so sometimes easy to like, well, actually, let me just fall into the situationship, because we are scared to go on that path of like doing the hard work and doing the inner work. And it's not that you have to do it perfect. And I'm not saying to completely isolate yourself from the opposite sex. It's more of just not making your whole world or obsession about like getting into the next relationship. Or even what I see a lot so much on social media is the whole thing of how to get a man, or how to make him jealous, or how to keep a man, or how to get him back. Like, it's always the thought of how can we grasp or pursue a guy. And it's just like, what about if that energy was spent on something else, something for yourself, something that you were building and cultivating for you? And that has been, even though that was a decision that I had to make, it's not that I wasn't ever thought about like, like maybe I should, give this person a chance, or maybe, oh man, but like maybe it's like, but I stuck it out and worked through those feelings because I knew that at that moment I wasn't going to be able to make good decisions when it came to my relationships. And when you're talking about decentering men, it is more of creating your life that is so full and whole and healthy that when that person comes, that is the person that you desire to be with, and that is someone that is worth pursuing and putting the work in, and you're confident in the decisions that you're making, because you're like, you know what? I know that this is what I want, and I know that I'm there, and I know that I've put in the work for myself, and I have a full life, versus this one person coming in and all of a sudden they are your whole life. And I think that that is something that is not talked about too much, but it is so important, no matter what age you are, no matter if you've been single for a long time or not. I feel like that obsession of being in a relationship is just not healthy. And I think that that part of can be normal, of feeling that maybe you desire it, but it doesn't have to be your whole identity. And so when you find things that you enjoy, when you put yourself in the place of being around healthy friendships and even healthy guy friends, like having healthy guy friends, that doesn't have to mean that you're going to date all of them or that you want to be, in a relationship with them. It's like, once you start putting yourself in those positions, then you're able to not make your whole life that when you do get in a relationship, you feel like you still have a balance of, I still have myself, my identity, and it's not just about the relationship. So being connected with yourself and the people around you, the things that you enjoy, and those things can change over time. But imagine if you didn't give yourself the time to figure that out. And that's what I felt like me continuously getting into relationships and like from one to the next. Like when I was finally after the 8-year relationship, I was like, who the heck am I? Like I felt like I grew, but how I was with someone for such a long time and my whole energy was this person, then I was so lost after. And I feel like that feeling I never want to feel again. And I don't want, if maybe for you, it's like you can also decide to make a change for that. And you can actually be like, okay, I'm going to take this time to actually figure out me now and invest the time in yourself and invest in yourself because you are the best investment. And so I hope that this has encouraged you and just been a reminder that maybe the reward of feeling that wholeness and all of that right now, maybe you want a relationship and you're like, I want, I just got out of this relationship, but I want to pursue another one. Maybe it's just something to think about. Think about, where do you want to be a year from now? How do you want to feel? And what are the things that actually you maybe should prioritize your energy and time that are aside from the relationship? The relationship that you desire to be, that's going to actually create a healthier you for when you do meet that person. So, if this encouraged you, make sure to share it with a friend and make sure to subscribe to this podcast, leave a review, and I'll see you guys next week.